Manchester United have finally done it. They've found the next Salah. If Salah had slightly worse numbers, played for Brentford, and didn't take penalties at Old Trafford. Enter Bryan Mbeumo, United's shiny new £65 million triple threat, who's here to save an attack so stale, it makes 1990s Stoke City look like peak Barcelona. But is he really the missing piece of the puzzle? Or just another data-driven science experiment in the lab of Sir Jim? I might have read the book Ratcliffe. Let's dive into the spreadsheet circus and find out. 1. Ian Graham's Bible and the Gospel of the Triple Threats. So apparently Sir Jim Ratcliffe may or may not have read Ian Graham's book How to Win the Premier Leagues. That's like saying you might have read the Bible, but only skimmed the Psalms. And in that sacred scripture of football nerdery lies the golden concept. The triple threats, players who can dribble, pass, and shoot. Revolutionary. Right? Someone tell Steve Bruce. But let's be honest. If Ian Graham did write a Bible, the opening line would be, in the beginning, there was XG and XG was good. And somewhere in the footnotes, there'd be a passage that reads, thou shalt not buy a striker with a bad first touch, lest ye suffer the wrath of the spreadsheet. Forget Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Graham's Gospel is written by Python, R, Tableau, and that weird AI model that can predict whether a midfielder had a sad childhood based on their pass map. Triple threat? United fans would have settled for a double threat. Hell, a single threat would be a step up from last season. Graham's model values players who don't just spam shots from 30 yards but actually think. So naturally United went out and bought Cunha, who treats long shots like a lifestyle. Ratcliffe's approach to transfers: if Liverpool's data people liked it, I'll take 2. Hold the trophies though. Possession value metrics are great, until you realize they can't measure vibes. And last season, United's attack had the vibe of a wet sponge. 2. Bryan Mbeumo, Brentford's spreadsheet hero. StatsBomb says only Salah added more value to his team's attacks than Mbeumo. And yes, Brentford is technically in the same league as Liverpool, just like a bicycle is technically a vehicle. Still, fair play. Mbeumo's OBV was sky high, which apparently means he passed, dribbled, and occasionally did football things that didn't make Thomas Frank throw a clipboard. Mbeumo was basically Brentford's Swiss Army knife, with less cutting edge, but still useful in emergencies. He scored 20 league goals. 5 were penalties, which he won't take at United. So we're down to 15 already. Subtract goals against Sheffield United, and you're basically left with 2 highlights and a nice smile. Mbeumo's a value adder, not to be confused with a goal scorer, which is a species United's been trying to breed in captivity since Robin van Persie. Sure, he outperformed his XG, which usually means regression incoming. At United, that regression shows up early, like pre-season early. 3. Matheus Cunha, United's other data darling. And then there's Cunha, another smart signing. If your plan is to gather every player who shoots like they're in a Nike commercial, Cunha had some bangers for Wolves. Yes, but according to Shadow BV, most of them came with a side of tactical sabotage. Shooting from range is cool, unless your team also wants the ball back. Cunha's the guy who hits a 30-yarder top corner once every 6 weeks, and then does it again 12 more times into row Z. Shadow BV basically said, nice goal, bro, but you're killing the team's win probability. Cunha's chaos with Mbeumo's assist that should have been energy. And you've got a duo more dramatic than Ten Hag's hairline arc. At least they'll be unpredictable. As in, you'll never predict when they'll pass, shoot, or dribble, or why. 4. Pass, OBV, where Mbeumo is a secret weapon. Now here's where it gets juicy. In pass OBV, Mbeumo ranked just behind Fernandes and Salah. That's right, United basically signed the Brentford version of Kevin De Bruyne, except without the volume or the hair or the trophies. Mbeumo's corner deliveries were chef's kiss. He found teammates in the 6-yard box like a heat-seeking missile. That's right, Brentford had set-piece routines more elaborate than United's tactical plan for most of last season. Of course, with Bruno still taking all set pieces at Old Trafford, Mbeumo's main job will be clapping supportively on the edge of the box. He was a great passer in a team where Tony was the finisher. At United, he'll be assisting Hudgeland, who often treat through balls like riddles from the Sphinx. If Mbeumo created 10 high-value chances last year, expect him to rack up at least 2 assists this season. Because XA means nothing when your striker's boot is sponsored by Roscoe Cement. 5. Dribble threat. When in doubt, run forward. Don't worry, Mbeumo's not just about passes, he dribbles too. That is, when he's not standing out wide like a traffic cone holding tactical width. At Brentford, he could dribble. At United, he might be allowed to. United's attack was so lacking in progressive dribblers last season that Luke Shaw was leading fast breaks like LeBron James. Mbeumo ranked well in value-added dribbles, which is impressive, considering he completed fewer take-ons than a League Two winger with sciatica. He's the guy who picks the right moment to drive inside every once in a while. Not flashy, but efficient, like a Swiss accountant with a step over. Meanwhile, Cunha dribbles like he's on a personal quest for enlightenment. No one knows where he's going, including him. 6. Will he actually be United's triple threats? So here's the big question. Can Bryan Mbeumo really be United's long-lost triple threat? Or is this just another summer of hope destined to collapse like a Maguire backpass? He's smart, versatile, and has actual data nerds drooling into their pivot tables. But will that translate into goals at Old Trafford, or just more angry rants from Roy Keane? If we're being honest, Mbeumo might be United's best new attacker in years. But that's like saying he's the least broken chair in a haunted IKEA. Triple threat? If he ends the season with 10 goals, 7 assists, and a few nutmegs, that'll be a quadruple miracle. Sir Jim may not have read the whole book, but even skimming the chapter on players who pass, dribble, and shoot is a huge upgrade from the scroll TikTok and buy into new model. Let's just hope Mbeumo's contribution isn't measured in Excel alone. Because at Old Trafford, the only metric that matters is, did we win or did we get embarrassed on TNT Sports again? Closing thoughts. United's science project begins. So, is Mbeumo the data-driven messiah Manchester United desperately needed? Or just another Brentford graduate about to get swallowed by the Old Trafford expectations machine? Let us know in the comments. Smash that like button like you're Bruno stepping up for a penalty. And don't forget to subscribe for more football banter, tactical sarcasm, and spreadsheet nightmares. Until next time, remember, in today's game, being a triple threat only matters if you're not surrounded by 12 double mistakes.